Yet, what are some of the questions that maybe quietly embarrass leaders when they get asked in the suite?
So it would be questions like, what metric does your team move the most? If we cut your project, what would change in our financials or for our customers?
Okay.
Or what trade offs did you consider when you chose this as a priority? Yeah, if a leader can't answer those directly, then it exposes the gap between execution and real strategic understanding. They can do the job, but do they understand how that job has a ripple effect across the organization, other workflows, and the customer, right?
Got it. So, how do you get people to name what they don't know without the risk of feeling exposed?
So, in our executive coaching practice, when we work on business acumen, we give our clients a homework assignment. We ask them to go to a neighboring department, somebody that they work with that's not in their function, and we ask them to be vulnerable and transparent and say something like, I know that we're working on this project together, but one metric I fully don't understand about how you do what you do. If I were to be in your shoes, what are you paying attention to every day? And then how does that connect? The key part of this is saying one metric I fully don't understand is dot, dot, dot. Or one part of our model that I'm a bit fuzzy on. It might be one person I'll talk to about this is dot, dot, dot. And I think admitting that gap is actually a power move because the first step is closing it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, this isn't just go read the annual report and suddenly you're strategic, right?
No, I mean, you can get financials, hopefully, in your company. You can get them anywhere. If you're a public company, you can download the annual report, right? Information helps, but business acumen, it grows fastest in conversation, not in isolation. So you learn the most when you're sitting with someone who sees more of the board than you do or a different perspective of the board than from where you're sitting. And then you ask them real performative questions.
Okay. So, what does a good learning conversation look like in practice? Can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, so you choose the right people. You would go to finance leaders, you would go to senior executives, perhaps. You would go to cross functional peers. That's a big one. Then you frame the ask. Say, I'm trying to better understand how X ties into our results. So, can I get 30 minutes of your time? When you do that, you show up with questions like, what metrics matter most in your world? What trade offs are you managing regularly? What keeps you up at night? What do you wish more leaders understood about how this business works? And I'm thinking now of a client that we both worked on opposite teams. I had one executive, you had the other. And when we had them come together with this exercise and ask one another these questions, I remember they were working on one key project and there was a lot of friction. When they started asking each other these questions, what came out of that was pain points that neither would express to the other because they never had a reason to. But the outcome was when you ask me these questions and I'm sharing with you my world, they started to see from the other person's perspective. Then they started to be able to connect the dots and they were able to then figure out how the whole workflow fits together, not just their project, their input, their push, or their drivers.
Yes. All right. So, that's quite a bit. So, if I'm listening on to us, maybe in the car right now on my way to work, let's chunk it down. What's one conversation I can schedule this week that would genuinely help and deepen my understanding in this capacity?
One of the sayings that we have closest to the dollar, right? Pick one
Yeah.
person who touches the money more directly than you do. And maybe that's somebody in finance. Okay. Maybe it's just a business unit leader. Maybe it's somebody in sales. Ask for 30 minutes of their time, take them for a coffee, do whatever. Your goal is to walk away understanding at least one metric, one trade off, and one part of the business more clearly than before. That's it. It's as simple as that.